There it is. Spill Your Guts podcast. What was I going to say? We're going to have to start over. Spill Your Guts podcast. I'm Mandi Holden, and you are Rachel Dawn Prairie, and this is Spill Your Guts. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, I missed you.
Bienvenido. Hello from the other side.
Oh my God, I cannot get enough of Adele this week.
Dude, well, it has to be said. It has to be said. First off, Adele, yes. But it has to be said, I'm not sure when eventually our peeps will get to hear this, but this week is the week that everybody's rolling out with their all their top music and their top podcasts, and we're out here getting tagged.
I have never felt more famous than I have this week getting tagged. Which is so funny because everyone's like, stop posting your stupid fucking Spotify. Yeah.
I actually love it. I'm such a nerd for it. I'm like,
I do too.
Right? I feel like it's so special. I even wrote a little thing on my on my story about how it's like, it is very intimate to look into people's lives and see what they're listening to. It is like, I am one of those people that music is like holy, you know, like it carries you. I think I shared last week when we were talking that I do my own personal, because I'm old and I don't listen to Spotify because I'm not cool. I'm sorry, no hate to Spotify or whatever. There goes our...
That's where everyone listens to this.
Well, they listen on other ones too.
But Spotify is the most popular one.
Okay, well, thank you, Spotify. I don't want to lose a freaking... another... There goes another endorsement.
Another one. Amber Crombie.
Janet Jackson.
Now Spotify.
Damn it. Okay, well, I wasn't throwing shade to Spotify. I was just saying I'm not cool enough, and I'm like, you know, I use Apple. I'm sorry. So I make my own, and I feel very like I'm curating something, like a you know, documentary film on my life.
Yes.
You know, and so far it's just like all Harry Styles. So I'm just kidding. It's not, but there's a lot. But I feel like it's so fun seeing everybody share their stuff, and like you kind of get to know people a little bit, even though they're trying not to. They are.
I think it's fun. I like it. And plus, I'm obsessed with finding new music and new artists.
Yes.
And I literally, if it's someone who I'm like, okay, I would trust this person with like a movie or like a book recommendation, then I've been looking up the artists if I don't know them. So I like it. But I also listen to an obscene amount of music I didn't know.
Girl, I saw it. You had like, what, 36 hours or what was it?
I've been like in the top 90, like a very, very heavy music listener. But it's because too, like, I travel so much.
Right.
And I have it on, or I work from home and I just have music on all day in the background. Or
so
like,
are you going to share? Are you going to share your like tops?
I don't know how to get back to the thing, but I do know because I'm 40.
We're soulmates. If you could guess, what do you think would be your like your top artist? Give me just your top artist.
I was actually surprised, and I don't know if I agree with this. I think he's just on a bunch of my lists, and so it shook out that way. But it was Drake again. But I have like completely. I have been like, what did it say? I'm all over the place with my music, but I'm very much like the genre that they called it, which I was like, what the fuck is that genre? It was it wasn't country. It was
like that new country, like folk like poetry country.
Americana or something weird like that. I was like, what? It just say what it is. But I also am like, no, I don't listen to country. So when it said that, I was like, yes, that's what it is.
You're like, I'm not country, but Americana. Well, listen, I don't usually listen to country either. But the truth is, ever since we got back from Arkansas,
yes, that's what it was for me.
I've been in a chokehold, girl. I can't stop. I can't.
I've been bluegrass. I've been Americana, whatever that means. I've been, and the person that I'm dating also loves country.
Oh
and
my gosh! What?
I know.
Just trying to slip something in there.
damn it. And
okay, keep going. Hurry, nobody heard it.
I know, hurry. It's just like in my space. But it was Drake, and I was like bummed because I'm like, that's not accurate. Maybe he's just on my.
But listen, he had 2 albums. He had 2 albums this year. It makes sense. Obviously, Beyonce's album, Supreme, Alien Superstar, so good.
Beyonce was on my top 5.
And like all I listened to, like the first half of the year was Harry. I'm sorry. It was like a new discovery, and he's brilliant and gorgeous and beautiful.
Oh, and Russ. I don't know if people know him, but that's another artist I really like. He was in my top 3.
Ooh, okay. Well, there you have it. And so it also, here we are, right? That our little podcast here has landed on some of our friends' top lists for listening. And so we just wanted to say thank you. And we felt really famous and cute.
We felt so cute.
My favorite was our home. I don't want to throw her name out, but you know who you are out there. She's a homie. She had us on her list of podcasts, and like all the other podcasts were like super gloomy and like serial killer dark mysteries. It was like, spill your guts. And I was like, that is why I love her, dude. That is it right there. That's called balance.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got it out of the way that we are Spotify famous, even though I've apparently offended Spotify. So that's fine. But last week we ended our talk with sharing Rachel making me get uncomfortable per usual, but we shared our letters to our January 2022 selves. And how are we feeling since then?
I feel good. You know what it was? I didn't want to like slip into this thing because we like think since like we know success is bullshit. I like didn't want to slip into this thing like, look at all my accomplishments, right? Because I'm like very adamant, and this is part of what we're going to talk about today of like, I don't want to be somebody. I don't know what else. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I'm not interested. Like, I'm already somebody. Mm-hmm. And so even some of that, I was just kind of like, I don't know. That was just like a bunch of stuff that I did. And so when I thought about what we're going to talk about today, I tried to like dig a little bit deeper.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I would say that we've been having this conversation, this like concept of like this trying to be someone out in the world and like what that means, because it's such a catch-22. Like, of course we all want to like accomplish and experience and, you know, step into our gifts and our, you know, callings or whatever, but it's like so tainted, right? When it's like wrapped up in like, you know, income and status and all that stuff. And I feel like that's hard for people who are creative, you know, because every time you fall in love with something and you want to like share it and just like see it blow up and like get excited about it, and then it like always turns into something else. And like, how do you like, you know, make peace with that? I don't know. That's been a conversation we've been having. So, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what too, some of the stuff when I missed the Marcy podcast.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I'm still recovering.
I really like kept hearing her say that, like, hey, we're just here to be human. So like, shut up.
Also, quick little shout out to Marcy and our own beautiful Jay Patty over here. Marcy will be starting her own podcast, which is launching. You want to give a little shout out, Jesse?
Ooh, you want me to do that on your show?
Yeah, of course we do. We're not fame whores over here. Come on. Well,
on Spotify, we are.
On Spotify.
Yeah, we share. Of course, we want to give a little shout out. And also to you for your expanding your producing world, and we're very proud of you.
So, if you like this podcast, you might like the Wild Sage Society podcast. It'll be both on Spotify. Yes, it'll be on Spotify with this.
And all the other ones for all you
and
people.
all the other ones. Just like this podcast. You can listen to it on iHeartRadio, too.
All platforms.
Oh, lovely. But, yeah, Mandi here. She's the one who linked me up with Marcy, and it's been...
I'm a little bit of a bully.
She totally bullied me into it too. But yeah.
But yeah, if you're interested in Marcy's style, and obviously, like I did, we couldn't have her here long enough to even dig into like the 12 things she brought to the table. And
well,
that
yeah,
conversation.
she broke you down pretty quick. So I don't know if
I try not to hang. I try not to hang out with her too often. Actually,
I feel your
just
pain.
kidding, Marcy. But so you listened to that episode, and I totally cut you off. What were you saying?
I just like that seemed to be a common thread, especially like, man, I loved when she talked about how we all have to crash and burn in our own way. And that looks different on everybody. Like it could be health, it could be a relationship, it could be finances, but like everyone has to like crash and burn in order to rise. And so that was just when I look back at kind of like how we did for 2022, like even if I look back at the last 5-10 years, I can see these moments where I was like brought to my knees and had to like really rebuild. And that is what we're supposed to be doing. That's what it is.
And isn't it tough? Like the realization, I guess it's maturity of realizing that doesn't just happen once. Right?
Yes.
It's like continual death and rebirth on repeat forever and ever. Amen. That is the human experience. And it's like grueling and daunting and like seems so unfair sometimes.
It's so wild, especially like how, I don't know, how I think about death or like kind of reframed it in the last few years. And I was, this is going to sound probably morbid to people, but like death, like that sounds easy. Like, bye. Like there's no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the final, there's no, well, we don't know.
It's your tattoo. This all ends.
This all ends. So of course I'm going to die and be reborn a million times in this lifetime because that's what creation is.
Well, and we're just so like arrogant and like, not we, like you and I, but we have our moments, I guess.
Everyone on Spotify.
But as like a species, right? Like we just get so distracted and like caught up in all the stuff. I was telling you, I found out somebody who I knew from many lifetimes ago, who is my same age, who we've stayed connected like on Facebook for many years. I found out she passed away unexpectedly a couple weeks ago, and like she's been married the same amount of time as I have been married, has the same age kids, and it literally has kind of just been heavy on my mind and my heart the past couple weeks because it's one of those sobering things. Like you just don't know, right? How much time and like how silly to be like, yes. I'll speak for myself here, but like so silly to be like just keeping myself in a loop of like feeling like things aren't fair and feeling sorry for myself and like, oh, I know better. And like, but you get stuck in that stuff when you feel like you're getting beat up. And it's just like what you just said. It's like, it's because you are supposed to get beat up so that you can dig deep and rise again and learn another layer of yourself and see another part of yourself that is strong that you had no idea could do a thing, you know? And you just can't do it any other way except through pain.
And that's where like where I like have beef sometimes. Like we talk about, like I get pissed about how we're living because I even think about what would it look like in a world where like we aren't just trying to survive, like the most of us, like we're just trying to pay bills. We're just trying to like survive. If we all had some of that lifted, what kind of shit could we create? Like I think about that all the time. Like if we all weren't just maxed out, stressed, in survival mode all the time, like we could really solve some problems. Like we could really sit and face ourselves. But then it's like we have to be in survival and then also go through hard things. And then also it's just like, it's too much. It's too many things.
Well, and it's like, and we're told that it goes back to the success thing we talked about, like very early on. Like it goes back to then we feel like we have to do it to prove, like you have to reach these like milestone levels where you're like, see, I'm not a screw up. I've done this and this, and I've reached this milestone, and I'm somebody, right? And then you become self-aware and you have a spiritual awakening and you're like, none of this matters.
I don't want to be anybody.
I hate it here. Let me off this thing.
Then you think you're an alien and you just keep waiting for your ride to show up and they never fucking do.
Yeah, it's like, Mandi, just pay your bills, okay? It's not that deep, dog. Like, you got magic happening. You literally had a falcon following you around for 2 weeks. Which, oh my God, bitch, I forgot. Okay.
Yeah, we need a falcon
Wait,
update.
live. This is a live action. This was not planned. Nothing's ever planned here. I'm sorry. Jesse knows. This is a live action falcon update. Okay? And actually, it's gonna have a twist because it's not what you think. It didn't land on my arm. In fact, Pico, I did name him, is no longer in the factory. He went back to the wild.
Okay.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I feel like it's probably best. But I'm also kind of sad, right?
Yeah, I would be.
I'm also kind of sad. He ate all the pigeons. He hunted them all. They're all gone. Which is great. It's really probably more sanitary for my day-to-day. You know, he got some free meals, population control, but Pico has fled. I didn't know when he left. I didn't even get to say goodbye. Really, I'm kind of sad. But here's the update. This is what's weird. See, now you're listening to us. You're talk about woo-woo stuff all the time. Are you ready to freak out? Because I have not told Rachel this story in real life. So my sister, it works like in forestry and stuff. So she has like really heavy seasons of work, and then she has like these month pockets where she's off, because when she's working out in the field, she's like out there in the woods. Okay. So she and she lives with us, because when she's not really home a whole lot, 'cause she lives out in the woods. So she had been saving for like a year and decided during this month break in between forestry jobs that she was gonna go. She's a bad bitch. Okay. She went to Peru and hiked Machu Picchu by herself. She went to Peru alone, which she actually like hikes and stuff for a living. Like she's like an outdoor person. So she like, you know, she did it all the right way. She had like guides and like different things. Like she met people there, but like went alone and like had this like, you know, walkabout like spiritual experience and like did all this crazy stuff. And when she came home last week or the week before, I forget, she brought me, okay, she went on this like big ass hike. There's like all this stuff up there. You guys know like Peru is like very spiritual. Like there's a lot of shaman stuff that goes on there. There's like, you know, and Machu Picchu itself's like super, you know. I told her to bring me back a stone. I'm like, find me a little pebble, find me a rock, find me something. I mean, like, make sure it's not illegal. Like, you can't just be like taking stuff, right? But she went on this hike that was guided and asked them if she could like permission to take something. Is it okay? And they're like, yeah. And so they, you know, taught her and the other people she was with all this stuff about like how to. Basically, they got to break off and like spend some time alone before it was time to hike back down to their camp. And they had to, they showed her like this way to say thank you and like all the directions, like the north, the south, the west, the east, because that's really big in like their belief system and stuff. So anyway, she was like, she went through all these things to like make sure she was like respectfully showing up in the right energy and respecting the land and saying thank you, and was like, okay, you know, if there's a rock here I can take for my sister, like just let me know which one. So she says she spends some time looking and she finds me this little rock, and it's white slate granite. And it's just this little piece of, and she looked it up, so she knew I would be geeking out on it and be finding out all the like weird meanings of it, right? And she goes, and she's home from Peru, right? So she's just telling us all these stories and debriefing about her trip. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't listen to my podcast, you know? Like, she doesn't know shit. But she hands me this rock. She's telling me this story. She's like, I knew this was your rock because I just like, I held it up to my heart and it just felt right. And I looked up and there was this huge falcon.
What?
Swear, she took a picture of it. I will send it so that we could post it when we post this episode. I literally was like, stop.
Oh my God.
It was a Peruvian falcon. This falcon was black and huge.
Oh.
It was much bigger than the falcon in my factory. But she said, I knew it was yours because I looked over and it was just like standing there and it was just wild. And she was like, okay, thank you. Bye. And she's like, yeah. And she didn't think anything of it. And I was like, dude, you have no idea. I was like, well, you were in Peru hanging out with falcons. I had this other whole falcon story, like Falcon Quest.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy? I can't believe I haven't told you that.
No.
Yeah. So I have this and of course the like white slate granite, the energy properties are all about like abundance and like all these themes, right? Like personal power and all that stuff. It's like the same energy as like the falcon spirit. It was just so weird. I'm just like, you can't make this stuff up. She's like, yeah, I just had to figure out what kind of bird it was because it was just so big and random. And she's like, yeah, it was a falcon. And I was like, no way. So there you have it.
Wow, of course. A fucking course.
So Pico, wherever
I'll
you
tell
are.
you about my animal guide story in a minute with Shaman Larry.
Yes. Okay, yes. This is what yes. I want to hear these updates.
Well, here, I'll kick that. So we for this episode, we were going to write a letter to our future selves.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more just like the ideas of it. So I like jotted some things down. But the first thing that came to my mind was like a message that I received during a retreat that I did with Ariel, Motivational Madness, up in Sandy, Utah. God, was that last week? I don't even know anymore. December is tomorrow. I don't know when this will air, but what the fuck? Like it's December.
I know.
But it was a one-day retreat, which was a whole lot of fun. That is like, we're going to talk about that because that works. Like it was sustainable for everyone. Everyone left energized and like not exhausted, including myself.
And it's more accessible to people to maybe cut away for a day.
Everyone, I mean, it was open to everyone, but the attendees were all moms, and their feedback was like, no way. Like they could not go travel somewhere for a couple days, take off work, leave kids, all of that. So like they were stoked that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So it was awesome. But we had Shaman Larry, who reminded me a lot of Al, our other lovely spiritual friend from Sedona. And he does all sorts of wild things I've never even heard of. So, of course, I was like, tell me everything.
Rachel's like, I'm going to Google this immediately and make sure you're legit.
He was the coolest.
That's awesome.
He ran a shaman journey for more, like, I don't have the right words for it, but essentially, like, took you on a quest to find your animal guide.
Oh, is it like a guided meditation?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And
oh my gosh. Okay.
And he had drums and they did a whole bunch. You know how I love the drumming and like all these other things. And his beautiful partner, Linda, sang and like it was sick. So I was trying to like not overthink this and like really just as soon as he started talking about that, I was thinking about all the animals. I was like, ooh. I bet it's going to be this or it's going to be that. I know,
you can't choose one. You're like Snow White in real life. Please tell me it was a Thumbelina.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait, it gets of course, it's about to get weird.
Oh, God. Okay.
So I was on my little journey and it turned out mine was a wolf, which I did not expect. And every single woman in there, except for one, also saw a wolf, which is kind of for woo-woo people. That's it's like a common thread. Like we think like we're suddenly like psychic together. I don't know how else to explain that. But like we've seen that happen at the point. And I'm like, out of all of the animals, really, we all thought wolf. Like how many animals are there in the world, right? So
you're a reluctant pilgrim.
I know. I was just like, fuck this shit. Like, no, none of this is real. But
no, like not one real. Person, not one of you thought platypus. Not one.
No, really, I was like, literally anything else.
Aardvark. Anyone? Come on. How dare you? So basic. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
The wolf is like the primal, like leader, alpha of all. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, so.
And so I was like, but I was almost like a little reluctant pilgrim when I was thinking this, because I literally was like, really, a fucking wolf? Like, could we be any more like, I don't know. Like, I was annoyed at myself. But the wolf was like, it was small and it was gentle and friendly. And we laid down in this big field together, and I put my head on it and we just like snuggled up, and you're supposed to ask like, are you my spirit guide? And so I did, and it said no. It said, I'm Soka, my dog that has passed away. And what's funny is like my whole like time with Soka, I called her a soulmate, like really and truly.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I know, it was wild, but then I realized we were laying in the exact position that her and I, like when we would have deep, snuggly sun naps, like we loved to like lay in the sun together. This was the exact position. I didn't even think about it because it was a wolf, so I didn't like associate it. I was like, holy shit, this is our exact.
Oh my gosh, that's so special.
Like sleepy time position. And then, so you're supposed to ask, and then you were supposed to ask, like, do you have a message for me? And her message was, I want you to rest. Like, you need deep rest.
Rachel.
I know. So I was freaking out, dude. I never like cry or anything at retreats. Maybe I'll have like a couple tears, or like if you get emotional, then I cry. But I'm an 8. We don't walk around crying, okay? I was a mess.
Marcy, where are you?
I was a total mess. I was like ugly crying in this circle, which strangely enough, and I hadn't even like debriefed with Ariel about this either, but after that, then everyone started crying. Like that was the thing that the group needed to like open up.
Wow.
And I literally, in my head, I was like, fucking Mandi, she's not here, so I have to be the crier.
I am so proud of you, my child.
Didn't have a cancer around to cry.
Listen, it is look, heavy is the head that wears the crown, bitch, okay? Dude, that's so cool. I love that you waited to tell me this, like, on the podcast, because this is exactly the stuff that we do. Like, if you ever wanted to know what Rachel, like, what we talk about, like, on the phone, or just, like, this is it, where we just, like, tell each other stuff and we both go, what?
Yeah. It was ridiculous. And, like, and really, and so when I thought about, I wasn't even thinking about that, but when I went to like write down some things to myself, like letter to me in 2023, the first thing was rest, be quiet, say no. Like that was the first thing that kind of popped up. So that kind of like kicked off some other things. I think we're going to maybe share our words next time around, our words for 2023. That just kind of kicked off the whole theme where I really want to make sure that I know I'm not going to travel as much next year, which is a good thing for me. But only really making sure I know that I'm attracting and everything in my life I called here, like I brought in. So if there's something I don't like, if there's something I don't want to do, if there's a person in my life I don't like that's on me. Sometimes I feel like I don't take ownership of it, or I'm like, how did this happen? This is outrageous. It was me all along.
It's me.
So like,
the problem, it's me.
It was Taylor Swift there, Jesse.
It's true. We always say that, though. Listen, I'm not going to lie. I kind of struggled with writing my letter to, I think it maybe was because I really went hard with writing a letter to my January 2022 self. Like, and as cancers do, I got stuck in retrospect. You know, your girl gets real, what the French call dramatic. in my feelings, if you will. So, and I didn't realize that I have like 11 end of the year rituals. Really, like we take this very seriously. And it's because we, like you just hit it on the head. Like my kind of revelation this week was kind of in review of like we spent that last week being in review so we could write that letter. And then, I made my playlist and I've been doing all my like end of year wrap up ritual things. And it's just had me sort of like kind of going back and like re-experiencing all the things that happened this year. And we talked about last week how it was kind of like overwhelming to be like, oh my gosh, I kind of forgot this and this and this happened this year. And then, as with anything that we go through, you have like a first reaction that's usually like in the ego and super visceral, and like whether it's good or bad, your first reaction is usually just like kind of over the top and unchecked, and then usually you settle into a second reaction that's a little bit more like for public consumption, right? And I feel like all the like reflection kind of had me just really marinating in a lot of the stuff. And it took me some time. It took me probably the past couple of days, I started really feeling better and started getting some clarity around that stuff instead of feeling like sorry for myself, which I was doing. Like, we're spilling our guts. I can't like bullshit. Like we talk real here. So it's true. Like this has been a really hard year. And at the beginning of this year, when I was like getting ready for my surgery and I thought, this is just going to change my whole life. I'm going to be the fittest I've ever been. I'm just going to destroy everyone in the gym, knock over everyone's dumbbells with my feet. I'm going to shit on everyone. And just like, I had all these just like huge plans for my year, and it just didn't effing go the way that I thought. But like in reflection underneath it all, it did. It really, really did. And I shared last time that my word for last year, and we're going to share our words next week, right? For 2023. Okay.
Yeah, we can share. It doesn't matter.
Well, my word for last year was elevate. And I just like have had such bitterness around that because I'm like, I didn't elevate shit, But then I had my whole like, Aladdin revelation that I shared with you guys, and I've been getting more and more of that, like more and more like affirmation and clarity around like, listen, some of the things that had to get like weighted with an anchor all the way down to the bottom of the ocean floor like a corpse had to go. And the only way that I could like rise up from that was to like really put a whole bunch of things to death. Yeah. And I feel like that's what I spent this year doing to sort of end here, in this space. And that feels really good.
It's so great. I was second. So after I like have my little list, I had rest. But the second thing I have on there is have my fucking knee surgery.
Ooh.
And
good.
But you know what? I caught myself though, because I wanted to write then become a monster. And I was like, ew, no, because now I'm right back to being somebody. You know what I mean?
There it is.
I'm right back. But like I have this joint disease. I've been putting off the surgery for forever and ever. And if I really do want and there's time to rest, it'll be okay. But like my ego is really
and that's just
screaming at me.
Well, and I'm so glad you shared that because people need to hear that because you are a monster. Like people look up to you and they're like, that's it. That's the goal. And so to hear you like say that and be real is so powerful and good. Because that's the problem I kind of got myself into, right? Last year when I was like, oh, elevate. It's time to level up. And it was like good intentioned, right? Like, listen,
yes.
I'm not talking shit about anybody who truly wants to be someone in the world. It's not that. Like, we're not telling you guys like everybody should just be like mediocre and just like be a bum, and just like, like that's not it. It's just, I guess it's more, and my beef with my word elevate was because it was me all year still trying to prove to this like someone out there, like, and I mean, I could list off several hundred people probably that I'm trying to prove myself to, right? If I'm being honest. And each time I would put effort into that, I feel like it was taken away. To specifically show me, like, underneath that, like, the pursuit of that was not authentic. Mm-hmm. The pursuit of, like, all these things I was trying to do was underneath it all was to keep proving that I was someone. And
you and I popped off about this the last couple days because, like, I've said this a lot this year, but I'm doing better. It's moving slower than I thought it would. Like, I have a lot less self-control than I anticipated, but, like, I really want to make sure next year that I am very mindful about what I consume and what I post and what I share. And because not everyone, like, deserves access.
Exactly.
And not everyone can get intimacy. But, like, old Rachel was just like, here we go. You get it and you get it and you get it. And that's how I ended up getting into so much trouble.
Yeah.
And
that's what we're talking about, right? If we're talking about self-love, self-care, these spiritual, journeys and what is real success, right? Like at the end of my conversation with Marcy, I was like, okay, so if I take away this whole personality I've constructed, the one thing I have that I have to lean on, well, then what am I? What is that? What is that? If I'm killing myself to get this certification or prove myself over here and make this amount of money so that I can be like, yeah, I did it. I did that. See, to whom? It really doesn't matter. Really? Because at the end of the day, it's like, you don't know when your time is up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so then the real pursuits, the, like, laying in the sun with your dog, who's your soulmate, who you don't know how long you have with them. That's success, dude. That's, like, the juice. But that is like, in this world we live in, all that stuff is, like, dismissed. But that's the real stuff,
And that's what, like, when I think about this coming year, like, that's what I really want to focus on. I want to shrink. I want to continue to, like, audit my circle and keep it small, and don't be afraid. We talk about this a lot, to, like, let things end and let things go, and really make sure that I'm only focused, because of our, whatever we want to call it, intensity or intimacy is so fucking strong and overwhelming. At least for me personally, I really just want to, like, give it to things and people and places that I care about.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And instead of just everybody gets it. Because honestly, when we do that too, I think we actually, like, take people's opportunity away to do it for themselves. Like, especially because you and I are, like, we're in service of people. We want people to show up healthy and happy, and like, that's just not our job. Like, I want to be, it's going to be hard for me, but I want to be, like, I want to shut up more. I want to listen more and speak less.
Dude, same. And
except
actually,
for this podcast.
I mean, obvi. But I feel like this is an organic thing. I feel like something is happening here, because actually, if our intention is truly to be in service in that way and to lead, the only way we can do that is by example with our own lives. That's it. There's no course to write. We create and lead retreats and help, but there's really no retreat to attend. That's all helpful, right? But the truth is, the only way to impact and really, really show up is to do this work in our life. That's it. That is the message of Elevate, right? For me this year is, like, releasing the idea of what it looked like to, like, rise up to this level and lead and blah, blah, blah. And I thought it looked like this because this is how we measure success and this is how we measure influence, and I want to be somebody, right? But actually the only way to be somebody is to become nobody, because we're all the same.
I don't think I could have put it any better. Because we were literally like, Mandy and I are also like big Game of Thrones fans.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the character of Arya Stark.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've seen the show, like her thing is she becomes no one, not seen. The dead girl has no name. And I was like, man, that sounds good right now. She had it. Like she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And she ended up fucking saving the whole world doing that shit. Being no one.
Yes. And had remember, and her character had access to like all the faces, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, that's deep, dude. Because don't we, right? Don't we have access to the many faces that we wear in all the spaces? But none of that is real. All that's real is the way you're showing up with yourself and that energy. And it's like, oh, so I'm grateful, even though I've bemoaned and we've literally documented on this podcast my pity party since July. But I'm now seeing like, wow, like I felt like I was given no breaks, dude. Like like family, friends that you thought were ride or die forever, gotta go. Habits that were harmless, it's fine. Nope, you're done with that. Career paths that you just were sure you were born for, nope, gotta go. You get the Falcon. That's what you get. And you know what? Honestly, and as hard as I've been holding on to all of that because my fear is becoming no one, then I'm a nothing person, right? I'm just a peasant, just out here trying to pay my bills. That's how I was seeing it. And really, truly, I am free because all of the like actual things that have like lasted throughout this year of like it all being burned down are the most precious and best things. Like I only have the best people in my life. My husband is the absolute GOAT. Like we've never like in a year of like honestly like death and destruction and like what else can happen, to also simultaneously have the best year of my entire marriage. Do you know what I mean? Like I've just never like experienced like the connection and like love that we have. It's just that is at a different, you know what I mean? It's just like, so what do you give up?
That's so interesting too with all that. It's just so fascinating to me, like with all that death, like love always comes around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Well,
it's always,
it's what
it just like fills, it like swoops you up.
Yeah, that's because that's all that's left. That's it. So it's like, so I did struggle, like, because where do you go from there? So I feel like you said, you're going to rest. You're going to try to stay quiet, try to listen more. I think for me, I would totally echo those things too, because that totally resonates with me. And I think it's because we are kind of on this different path of leadership that we weren't prepared for. And we're just learning as we go, right? But I think that for me, I would also include like speaking up, like saying no. Like, I think realizing that some of those things that I thought were being like taken from me, like, were actually like not things I wanted, right? It was things that I thought I should be doing because it's like what other people think I would be good at or should be doing, or different projects and different, things that I was lending my own energy and passion to. Like, nobody really asked me. It wasn't my thing, right? I was not doing it for me. I was like, you know what I mean? So I think that I mean, some might call it a villain era. I don't know, but I'm feeling like it's going to be real selfish, and I'm learning that that's okay. So,
yeah, I am too. I just I don't want to. I feel like especially in the last year, I let my emotions run the show, and because even though it's more like chaotic, it's like easier than like saying no. You know what I mean? It's easier than the unknown of like standing up for myself and saying something, or like, or not saying something. Like that's hard for me too.
No.
being the 8 that I am, but like really just learning how to be quiet and observe and detach. And really, I can, because actually, Shaman Larry said, we were chit chat, like we were just having like a side conversation. And he was like, like someone who lets emotions runs the show, like doesn't have a whole lot of clarity or time for anything else. Like you can't see beyond that. And he was like, and there's a whole nother world out here.
Wow.
And I was like, Shaman Larry, can you adopt me?
That's so good. That's so good. That's so true though, right? Because it's so loud.
It's too noisy.
It's so, and that's what makes it feel grueling and hard. And that's why like spiritual hygiene and discipline is important. The quiet time, the journaling, the music, the whatever that is for you that fills your soul. Like that's why it's important, right? It's not just because we're checking off like good habit lists, right? And I think that's the trap that some people get into around the new year, which we're going to talk about next week. It's like we put all this pressure on ourselves to like become a brand new person with like new patterns and behaviors in like 24 hours. And then we get super bummed out that we can't do that. And then, it becomes the joke of like the new year fail. But we're going to talk about that next week because it doesn't have to be like that. And I think that even us sharing how this year went for us is proof of that. Because remember last year we started with that 40-40 challenge?
Yes. And we were trying to start these habits, honestly.
Yeah. And we're still working on it, but that's fine.
Still working on it. But you know what I was thinking when I kind of wrote this out? I was like, shit, the stuff on here is going to require like spiritual discipline because there's no way I can get quiet without it. No way. I'll have to do it. If these are my actual things that I want, like I'm going to have to do the work.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm just realizing this in real time. So bear with me as I try to spit this out. But it's like, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it right.
Yeah. Be real careful.
So if you like, for example, if you say, okay, it's this is my year to elevate and you have no idea like what avenues the universe is going to take to like have you do that, because I can understand what elevate means to me in my small-minded thinking and like thinking I was going to like, dominate, be like super cool, become a really cool influencer with lots of content and become super powerful and, super buff, and none of that happened. Because that was my idea, but the universe, like infinite divine source, says, okay, man, do you want to elevate? This is what is required, right? So you're saying you want to get quiet. You better be in that spiritual practice. Otherwise, it will be done for you. Let my crash and burn year be a lesson to everyone.
Look out.
You don't have to.
Careful.
Yeah, don't surrender. You don't have to literally fight and fight it all year long and be miserable.
The universe is listening. And
Right.
it is kind of a baddie.
I have a question. Jesse, you're kind of quiet over there. I know that you have prepared a word for 2023 to share with us next week.
Yes.
Let's share our words now.
Do you want to?
Yeah, and then we'll talk about it next week.
Okay.
We'll end here and then we'll talk about it.
Well, before you say that then, since we're going to share the word, I wanted to ask you, like, do you have any, because you have to sit here and listen to us all the time.
Yeah, I'm absorbing.
How do you feel your 2022 went?
Oh man, you're just gonna throw this question at me right now?
I mean, a little. You sitting, you're listening to us, you're watching me freak out and sweat over here.
Well, because
I'd love some male feedback.
Well, here's the thing. I'm the guy behind the scenes that acts super cool and looks like I think you think nothing bothers me. But I have been able to relate to you through all these episodes. I just don't speak it out loud.
Aww,
like this,
brethren.
So if I'm going to lead this into my word that I have to pronounce on the show.
We'd like you to share your word.
So my word is simple.
Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, I felt that.
One of the things that I've said my whole life that I feel like I've gotten away with, specifically in the last 4 months of starting this new business endeavor, I always like to say, Keep it simple, stupid. So next year, I need to put simple on a shirt and make sure that I'm reiterating that things aren't as complicated as they have to be. You don't have to be perfectionist. Yeah, so.
Oh my God.
You guys run with that.
That's so good. Thank you so much for sharing that and being vulnerable and willing to put it out there. Because now you done fucked up, bud.
Yeah.
Because now we're going to hold you accountable to that. Because I could see how that would be a struggle for you. Because Jesse
I'm an 8.
Definitely cares about the details. And so that will be simplicity will be freedom for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let it go. Just let it go. It doesn't have to be exactly right. It grinds my gears just saying it right now.
I can see it. I love it. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're like kids before Christmas. We couldn't wait. Thank you. I know.
I got too excited.
Do you want to share yours or you want me to share mine?
You can go. You can go.
Okay. So my word, I want to say, see, here I go again, being a brat. I feel like this word was given to me. I did not choose this word. But once it was like obvious to me and I acknowledged that I received the message, it's like, okay, now I have to. So, and you guys are going to laugh because of the theme of this and everybody who's listened along. But my word for 2023 is faith. Mm-hmm. So it will be kind of circling back to my origin story and making peace with that, because I feel like I've been on a full circle journey from that space. So that's my word.
I'm just like imagining what the universe is going to give you over this word.
I know. That's why I was like kind of pissed about it. I was like, no, please, no.
Here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah. But because I'm so triggered by it and because I have like a weird relationship around that, who I'm even feeling emotional talking about it, like, because it means something to me right now. So it'll be interesting when we chat next year at this time. Hopefully, if you guys still are my friends.
We'll be the #1 Spotify. If only we wanted to be somebody.
If only. Dang it. So yeah, that's mine. No small feat, right? Simple, faith, and Rach. Hit us with it.
Here comes the long vowel, Minnesota vowel. I have trouble saying this word, but mine is magnet.
Magnet. Okay. Okay. That I feel that's powerful. Explain that to me.
So that's kind of how like I kicked off this little letter to myself, is I have seen this happen in just a couple. And I'm sure it's happened before. Like if I look back historically, I know for sure it's been happening. But I've had some really fucking cool things happen to me this year that I definitely thought about, envisioned, had very clear, focused like outcome, and got really clear about that. Like it wasn't just like, I want to win a strongman. I was like, no, like this is like,
knew it.
Very clear vision about it. Or even the person that I'm dating, I feel like was a mirror. Like I very much I got very clear on what I wanted.
Yes.
Like after being very unclear. But like for my whole life. But like there's just been some things that have happened this year where I was like, holy shit. I have dreamt, thought, wrote, envisioned, played this moment, person, thing out forever and ever, and now it's here.
Wow.
And so for me, like even visualizing myself as a giant magnet is really helpful to me, because then anything that comes near, any opportunity, any person, whatever, I have to either like let it come or reject it. But I have to be very like very
It's like
cutthroat
you're
about what I
claiming,
let in.
yeah, you are assuming authority over your life.
It's pretty uncomfortable. I'll tell you that right now.
No, I love that. That's no, and I feel yes, dude, that's super powerful. I'm excited to see what happens.
So we'll see.
Because really, it forces you to, like, if you're going to own that, right? And you are aware that you are this powerful creator that can, like, create these experiences and these very, like, almost what is the word I want? Like fine-tuned things that you want in your life. Then you also have to take responsibility for the things that maybe you don't like.
And really putting in, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I really want that, but then put in like no effort. Do you know what I mean? Or like, or just say it and like hope it comes around. And like, that's not necessarily like manifesting. Mm-hmm. So it was also like being really committed to my own vision. And I saw it, and it happened in a couple really powerful ways this year. I was like, oh, this is fun. I like this.
Yeah, dude, that's so cool. Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted.
No, I started sweating.
We went 0 to 100. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for pushing me out of my comfort zone and making me spill my guts about these things.
We're almost to the end of the year.
Can you believe it? We got one more episode, all you friends and fans out there. And we always tell you guys, and we really effing mean it. We want to hear from you. If you've joined us in writing yourself a letter, your January 2022 self, or your 2023 future self, we'd love to hear it. You don't have to share your letter with us, but you could share like maybe some takeaways from the process. But we would also really love to hear your words, your 2023 words. It's super powerful. I can't believe how each year it becomes more and more of a thing.
Yes. So choose wisely. Be careful. Look out. That's what I keep saying. Like,
I just see you as like a big old magnet. That's
how I'm literally picturing myself. Like if something's here, like I did this.
and for me, I just see myself like jumping out of a plane with no parachute. Like, well.
Bye.